Now, the fun part. See if I can get a light down in there. Oh, doesn't that look like fun? I'm going to shove some old rags down in there and see if I can't mop out that black sludge. The old, super old gas. It turned back to what looks like crude oil. Whew, nasty, nasty. Alright, I nearly forgot. Down in here there is a fuel sensor attached to the gas tank. I really need to get that out first before I start. There it is. That little black thing right there. I'll get that pulled out of there before I start sloshing a rag around in there with a stick, because I'll wind up breaking something. Now, I worked a little bit the other day on this fuel pump. This is what we got. OEM Kawasaki. This whole thing is $630. Yeah, $630. So I did some scrubbing, disassembled it. Turns out this is just a casing. Instead of being the fuel pump, this is just the casing that holds the fuel pump. So obviously it's a lot cleaner than it was, and I'm going to get it considerably cleaner. But it looks like the metal is pretty well intact. Everything's pretty solid. It's a little rough up here, a little soft, but the rest of this and this backside is solid. So I think I'm actually going to be able to salvage this, but I will need to clean out the inside and give the outside a little bit more buffing. I may put it on the wire wheel, clean that up a little bit. Now, this mess, I'm pretty sure is unsalvageable. This is the gas pump, and even the filter, or I don't know what they call it, the sock filter. That's all ripped out. Obviously, oh man, it's just falling apart. So I can order an aftermarket pump on here. I've seen them anywhere from $39 to $69. So I'm going to buy a new fuel pump, get this all put back together with the top side piece, the casing, a new fuel pump, screw it all together, get it wired back up in here, and then I'll reinstall it into the gas tank. This piece appears to be in great shape, really good shape. So I'll blow some carb cleaner through these lines just to make sure they're all clear and clean, and that's the game plan on that. Okay, the fuel sensor is out, and it was not easy. I had to use this pry bar to get up underneath the rubber collar on top of the tank and pull straight up. You just want to be careful that this doesn't get loose and slam into the wires that go down inside this fuel sensor. I don't know if I'm going to be able to clean this mess up. This has got that black stuff all over it. Also, these things do not slide at all, so it's not going to register the correct fuel. The main bar is all corroded up. It's a pretty nasty mess. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find where it snaps in on the wiring harness and unsnap it, and then take it over here to my little cleaning station and hit it with some carburetor cleaner along with a wire bristle brush. See if I can get those parts to start moving again. These should slide up the shaft as the tank is filled with fluid, and as you use fluid, as you use the fuel, these drop down, and every section represents, I believe, a quarter of a tank. Makes sense. There's 4 of those. Alright, so let me see if I can get that thing pulled out. Okay, that wasn't too hard. Just follow the wire all the way down to the wiring harness. There's the snap-on. Just a little button that you push and pull this out from the wiring harness. It's just about 16 inches down from the fuel sensor. Alright, now I'm going to take it over to the little cleaning station I've got set up. Hit this with some carburetor cleaner. Try to clean this up. Try to get these to, yeah, there we go. Try to get these to slide freely, and then maybe the oil gauge will work properly. but we'll see what I can do. Some of these are seized up pretty tight. Anyways, if I can't, then if I'm not mistaken, this is a $240 part here. Okay, this is the station in which I ceased to play nice. So I've cleaned it up, the casing up quite a bit. Has deteriorated area right there, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. It's still holding up pretty good. It's a pretty good squeeze there. But from this point forward, so long as I own the jet ski, it won't be seeing any more ethanol fuel. Now I'm going to grab that sensor, move those little plastic rubber discs out of the way, and see if I can't clean that shaft up a little bit. Okay, I've cleaned off the fuel sensor, and I've made a lot of progress. Look how that slides up and down there. Super easy. Cleaned it all off. There's some little, I don't know what they call them, little cleats that go in these grooves that separate all these floats. So I'll put those all back together, and this thing should function. So long as the electronics in it is working, the floats should work perfectly. So right now I'm trying to get the gas out of the tank. I've already got all the liquidy gas out, the old gas. A lot of times when you are going to store these things, you want to put a little bit of fuel stabilizer to the gas to help prolong the life of the gas. So I'm going to reach down in there and try to get some more of that gas out. Yeah, fuel stabilizer is not going to fix that. Goodness gracious. Okay, I've scooped out a lot with a putty knife. I need to find something that's going to cut that stuff that's smeared along the bottom of the gas tank. I've got a few spots smeared across the hull here, so this is going to be a good chance to see what will cut that. I'm going to try to use a little acetone and see if that'll cut it. And if that works pretty good, I may dump some more in that gas tank and slosh it around with one of these t-shirts. See what happens. Alright. Well, I think we got a winner. Okay, it cuts it pretty good. I believe I'll dump some acetone down in there. Alright, I've got some serious progress made. Got just a little bit down there. What I did was I poured acetone down there and sloshed it around. Then I stuck a rag down there and stirred it with a little aluminum pipe and soaked up the acetone, because you don't want the acetone just sitting around that plastic. And man, it cleaned up. There's still a little bit of work to do, but I'm getting tired, and so I'll probably come out and do it again tomorrow. Okay, so I'm kind of in limbo this weekend, waiting for the fuel pump to come in. In the meantime, I was thoroughly concerned with my starter button. I'd have the key on, my dash would come on, I'd hit the button, and absolutely nothing would happen. No click, no nothing. So everything I read on the internet was suggesting that I had a bad solenoid. Solenoid is located right down here. Let's put a little light on it. There's the solenoid. Actually, what you're looking at is a case that goes around the solenoid. The solenoid's inside that black box. That took me a little while to figure out. So anyways, I went in the house and ordered a solenoid, and then started looking up how a solenoid works and all that kind of stuff. And once I figured out exactly how a solenoid worked, because I wanted to test it and see if it worked, then I realized that what I needed to do is trace this wire all the way down to where it plugs in down here, right there. What that is that's a low voltage wire. That low voltage wire comes from the starter button on the handlebars. So what I did was I pulled that off, and I pressed with a little hand clamp, I pressed the starter button on the handlebars and tested that with a multimeter. 0 voltage was coming in. So what's supposed to happen is a 12 volts comes up and goes inside the solenoid, and then it goes down and charges a copper coil. That copper coil charges and causes a metal plate to move away from the coil, making contact between these 2 points over here. That then creates a large voltage. It basically connects some large voltage, which then goes over to the starter on the engine and cranks the engine. So once I realized that there was no voltage coming through this low voltage wire, then I figured, okay, solenoid may not be bad. So I quickly started tracing the lines, and I got back over to a fuse that I had already checked once before. Well, I don't know if you can see it or not. Ooh, I don't know if my camera's going to focus. There is, when you pull that fuse, there's 2 little slots side by side. If you put that fuse in the wrong slot, you're not going to be able to start your engine. Your dash will come on, but your engine won't do jack. So I pulled that fuse out, checked the fuse again, it was good, and then I put the fuse back in. Well, that time I put the fuse back in the little slot that it was supposed to go in, and I heard my ECM start making noise, and heard little beeps going off and all that kind of stuff, similar to my my four-wheeler whenever I start it up. So I was like, uh-oh, so that's good. So then I took my key. See if I can do this offhand here. I am not a lefty. So then last night, took my key, turned the key on, my dash lights up like before, no problem. Low fuel, well, that's accurate because my fuel sensor is completely out of the tank, and the tank is bone dry. So turn that off, then I go to my start button. Hear that? That's an engine trying to crank. Alright, so that's a good deal. Good deal. So now all I need to do is get that gas pump in, reinstall all the stuff back into the gas tank, get this thing filled up with some good gas, and we're going to try this again. I think we'll have a jet ski running here pretty quick.